Welcome to Forbes India presents Business Lodestones, where we dive deep into the journeys of extraordinary leaders reshaping the business landscape. And today we turn our focus to the powerful intersection of finance and social impact. Joining us today is Lata Gullapalli, a visionary leader transforming both industries. With over 25 years of experience in investment banking, her influence extends far beyond the financial world. She holds key positions on the boards of 5 companies spanning both commercial and not for profit sectors. So let's delve into her remarkable journey. Welcome to the show, Lata. Well, your career spans over 25 years across South Asia, Russia, and the UK. So, what has been the most transformative experiences in your journey as an investment banker?
Finance was the key when I joined investment banking, particularly mergers and acquisitions, which is considered the most difficult part. But when you do finance, you structure a deal, you look at the legal aspects of it. The transformation was to understand that it's not just the numbers that need to add up, it is the people. And you have to check who is dealing with whom. So you look at both sides. Who are these people coming from? Can they work together? Do they trust each other? And also the people who will take it forward. So you need a buy-in at all levels. Like classic example was a deal where it was an American and a Japanese investor into a Russian company. And I was the Indian investment banker for that. So you can't have more diverse, let's say, people coming from different ways of doing business, let's say. So when you put them together, you have to see when they actually gel. And we say actually gel, integrity is such a strong part of this conversation. So you have to be sure to say, okay, this is not going to work, and walk away. Even though it is a lot of money, it's a lot of money for me because of my commission, it's a lot of money for the company because they can raise money, but you have to be able to say no. And that was a learning experience. It's very transformative when you start doing that, because without integrity, you can't have this. And you can't have people, you can put the transaction together, let's say, but it won't work. The next thing also is like, if I go as an investment banker, I have the knowledge, I have studied and everything. But these are people who have, let's say, built up companies. And some of them are owner promoters, and these are multi-billion-dollar companies. So you have that initial apprehension, can I say that what you're doing is not right, or have you looked at this, or things like that I was very apprehensive in the beginning. Then I find, okay, if I back it up with the right whatever fact and the detail, they are very willing to listen, and they do stop when you say no, or they do go forward when you say yes. That was another really transformative thing. The third one was, I think it's a cultural thing. When we say culture, what do we mean? We say where we come from is culture, what we do. But we say corporates have a certain type of culture. Some are toxic, some are not. Some are very preferable, let's say. So that culture thing, they have to gel. And when they gel and they go forward, you're like bringing what you know and what you've learned. Again, you are sort of adding to it based on all these places you've worked in, whether it's in one country or many. I've worked across countries, so that is a different kind of culture that I bring. And I have to put that there when I make these deals. So those kind of transformations are quite key, I think.
Absolutely. And it's very inspiring that being a woman, you've achieved so much, and also in a different country and across the globe.
Yes.
Now, as a non-executive director on multiple boards, how do you ensure effective governance and also strategic decision making, especially in the fast evolving business landscape?
Governance is a key. Governance has to happen if you want business to succeed. So we have to look at how best to take these initiatives. Most companies, I think, when they are set up, it's like owner-driven. It starts at the top. So either it's owner-driven or it is the board-driven. So when you start at the top and say governance is going to be like this, that percolates throughout the company. We can take best practices from countries which have got the, let's say they have been trendsetters in governance, setting up institutions. And they say, okay, you have to do it like this. We can take best practices from them and use them in governing companies and say, these are the norms for DEI. The onus of governance is more and more being put on the companies, on the boards, which makes sense, because if governments are going to take the time to check what companies are doing, it's going to take so much of their time, and their resources are probably much better used doing other things. They don't need to be checking, monitoring. So what you call self-governance, self-check, self-audit. That is the way to go forward. So when governments impose, say, comply or explain, So either you comply or you explain why you're not complied. It could be that it doesn't apply to you. It could be that it's something different.
Yeah.
And that's perfectly fine. But you just explain, okay, why am I not complying? But if you're not complying for a reason which is not right, obviously then you are the one in trouble. So the self check is always better than having the government checking, because how much resource are you going to put in checking then? And always, if you're checking, they find ways of going around things,
Yeah.
which becomes a whole industry in itself. So you don't want that to happen. It's better to put the check on the companies, on the boards.
And another thing, Lata, your mentoring programs focus a lot on empowering women, especially in the rural sector, to become entrepreneurs. So tell us something about that, and also if you can share some success stories that have actually stood out for you.
Yeah, sure. I wouldn't call it empowering, because I feel everybody has their own power. You can help them to recognize it. You can help them to tap into it. You can help them to access it. So this program particularly is rural women entrepreneurs. We mentor them and we help them set up businesses. We don't give them grants. We give them we arrange for them to get loans. These are like micro kind of loans. 50,000 rupees kind of loans, which are really small. They're not on anyone's radar. But these women are so capable. They are so energetic. They're so enthusiastic. If you show them how to do a business, they'll go off and do it. 3 months later, they want to expand. So they come back already. And so going and meeting them, I've just been to visit, I don't know how many villages, and see all the businesses, how they're run. They're all very diverse as well. Most of them are single shot. There is nobody else for miles doing that. So the moment they have entered the market, they have taken control of it. It could be like a person doing cattle feed, for instance. They buy cattle feed, they whatever, mix it, prepare it, sell it. So now the lady already wants to expand in 3 months. So we say, okay, maybe you can do medication. You can sort of dispense medication, do a small course with the veterinaries available there, and you can do that. So they are really eager. It could be like food stuff. There was a lady who couldn't even walk, and she's employed 4 people to prepare food stuff and sell it. It's like, really, she can't make enough. There are women who are, let's say, not allowed to come out of their homes, and they are doing businesses which is exported out of the country. So, and you find that you have to get this social fabric also changing to say women can do, women cannot do.
Yeah.
It's the same in cities and corporate. Women can do, women cannot do. It's the same in villages. So we have to speak to the village elders or the men or the people who are running these governments or whatever they call it. They call it cooperatives or something. And you have to tell them that, yes, these women can do it. And the moment they are convinced, they say, okay, these women can come out of their homes. Like, thank you very much. They're doing very well anyway. They didn't need permission.
Yeah.
And yet they needed permission. So there are so many stories. A young woman who has just got married, she's like, okay, why don't I put coconut water? She says coconut water, she added tea to that. Then she's adding snacks to that. She's already done a trial. They are so enthusiastic. They are making decorative fans out of palm leaves. You name it. They've got poultry farming. The businesses are so diverse. There's tailoring. They just look at stuff online and they're producing it at a fraction of the price. They're even checking what's the price in the city and pricing it below that. And they get other people to help. Like they can get their sons or their brothers or their uncles or whoever to come in. They get other women to help. So it becomes like a whole movement for the village. And suddenly these women have financial income.
Okay, and another very interesting fact about you is that beyond boardrooms, you're also a well-known author. So how does storytelling help spark conversations around, social justice or topics like gender inequality?
For me, stories are essentially mini case studies. So when I started writing, when I started working, I realized that relationship is the one that is going to work far more effectively than just having a transaction, financial transaction, regardless of the size. The small 5 million, 50 million, makes no difference, 5 billion. Essentially, it has to be the relationship gelling. So I said, okay, why don't I write about the different scenarios? And when I started writing, it's like, these are the relationships working, and sometimes it's not going well. So maybe you can tweak it a little bit. Maybe you can try. For me, there is no try. I would use the word not try. I would say, for me, try means give it the best shot. It's not like I will try 20%. I have to try 100%. But if you try 100%, usually you succeed. But there are those cases where it doesn't succeed. So you have to realize when you need to walk away. Just like in business transaction, you have to know, even if you have done everything under the sun to make it work, the parties are fantastic, they are very good friends, they trust each other, still the deal cannot work for whatever reason. But you have to know saying, okay, I advise my client to go back and say no. Same thing in life, you say no. So when you learn to say no, you're absolutely doing the right thing, you know. So
Well, great advice. You know, it's very, very interesting and very inspiring how you blend your storytelling with real life action.
yeah, it's actually my every story I've also tried to give my what you call solution, and doesn't have to be the reader's solution. But what happened was, when I got reviews, editorial reviews also, they all said, yeah, this solution sounds good, or this is effective. In fact, one gentleman wrote saying that if you want to have a relationship with a woman, you must read the book. I thought that was like very, very intense. I mean, that you can't get better praise than that. So I thought, okay, I must have done something, written something nicely or correctly. But yeah, for me, I was trying to put what relationships can do. I mean, the book is called Three Loves, but it's not about love. It's just relationships. So yeah,
Great.
essentially,
Great.
yeah.
Great. I think I would love to read that book.
I hope so.
So another thing, you know, let's focus on startups, you know.
Yes.
So what are the sectors that excites you the most for investment or for mentoring?
Investment, I would say education. That's always my passion or my interest. Like I said, when I was working in corporate as well, I used to have people who joined after me or who came in later. I would always try to tell them, you get comfortable. So if for any reason I'm not in the picture anymore, the company can go forward and they can add their own ideas to whatever I have shared with them. And that, what we call it mentoring, we call it training and all those things now. Those days we just did it. So the same thing if we take into education, like I said, you take it younger and younger, you deal with all the things which are not currently taught. Maybe private sector is teaching that in schools, I don't know what is the curriculum, but certainly not government. So if you're trying to get them to understand all the things you need to succeed, you will make a far more sort of balanced person who might grow up and do so many things. You can say, okay, this person is going to grow up, I mentored the person, I trained the person, he's working in whatever, a billion-dollar company. All that is great. It's not like it's not. But there are only so few people who are going to do that. The rest of the people are going to succeed. So it's a concept of success. You're telling them, this is your world. So world is what you make it. You don't have to say, okay, only working for Google is going to help me, or only working for whatever, X company, doesn't matter, is the success factor. You can make a success of your life and be happy with it. Unless you're doing what you like, you won't be successful.
Well, great advice. It's just great to listen to you. I think you have so much wisdom to share. Now, one piece of advice that you would want to give out to all the ladies out there who want to break into leadership roles.
Yeah, women in leadership, actually women in corporate already is very few. I'm just comparing to men. I'm not saying men and women, I'm just not being non-diversity here. Anybody, I'm just saying men and women, for example. So women came in later, so there are far fewer of us, and far fewer as we go up. It's always a pyramid. There are far fewer men also at the top, but far, far fewer women. Yeah. So as we go, just having more in the pipeline, more people coming. I think women are far more critical of themselves. So the support they seek is always external, not internal. Whereas men probably will just say, speak, or they feel more comfortable. I mean, most companies, investment banking, I've been the woman in 10,000 men or something like that, some random number. And it is pretty much that bad. So if you are going to go as I am a woman, it's not going to work, because every time you're going to say, I am a woman and I need this, or I'm looking for some support. So many men have sponsored me. I have sponsored so many men. So I'm not even looking men and women. I'm saying be the professional. If you are a professional, you will come across as a professional. Of course, when they first see me, they will say, okay, can this woman do it? Especially if you're a woman, you can say that. But when I go there, I'm like, I'm the professional. I'm going with my knowledge, my experience. I'm only focused on the task. So every time when the task comes, I'm giving far more than the task requires. So my return is so much better than any person who is sitting there doing the same job. And when the superiors or even the colleagues see that, they say, okay, here's this person. She's not trying to go out on a date with me, she's focused on the task. So that also changes the vision. Yeah. Initially, I think maybe it's natural that people try to see, oh, is this woman just here for decoration, or she's going to do something? How much does she know? It's all very normal. I mean, people have thought that, said that. That's not relevant. But how you counter that is very important.
Yeah, I think we also need to believe it in ourselves that
yes. So this is the apprehension. You say, oh, shall I speak because I'm the only woman on the board? I'm like, if something I know and something that's right, I will speak. And when I speak, I'm being very sensible. I mean, I was on this board and they were having this problem, and I started to say, okay, this is how you do it. That's how you do it. Also, you have to be careful how you speak. It's not because you're speaking to men or speaking to women. Speaking to the other person. Everyone listens differently. So if people are listening differently, you have to speak differently. And that is something you have to master, that skill. So if you don't speak differently, the person is not listening clearly. So you can say anything you like, the most sensible thing, they're not listening. So I have to put it in a sensible way for them. So they absorb that and they say, okay, this person is doing so well. She doesn't need to be only a non-exec director. We can make her the chairperson. There you are. So how does that work, And it's all men around there. So I can't say, oh, I'm going to be the woman. India actually never had that discrimination. When I started in finance in India, they never looked whether you're a man or woman. I had no problem with different salary, nothing. I got the same scales of pay. I never even have to talk about it. It is still the problem abroad. So think how far advanced India has been.
Yeah, of course. I mean, India's president is a woman.
Regardless, president being women, heads of corporates being women is great. But I'm saying we never had the difference in pay even. So we never have to negotiate that. If you don't have to negotiate that, you're already in my view. If you're in on an equal basis, on merit, then you have to fight for it. I think many times we fight or we don't fight properly, and we give the reason saying, oh, because I was a woman, maybe I was sidelined. I have never been fired because I was a woman. I have never been sidelined because I was a woman. Of course, people will take pot shots. Like people will come before, let's say, a very big meeting or a meeting with, let's say, the head office or whatever, Hong Kong, London, wherever. And they'll say, oh, can you tell me a few points? And in your innocence, perhaps, you would give them those points. They will go and talk in the meeting as if they are their own points, which doesn't help. Because then I'm like, oh my God, I just told this person. So you have to learn to counter that. Yeah. How do you counter that? You say, okay, if I say I can't tell you the points, this person is going to go off and say, look, she's not being right, she's not professional, whatever. So I don't want that to happen. I want that person to just stay out of my hair. So when I tell the person some things. And I say, see, you can talk about this maybe. And then when I go to the meeting, sure enough, the person opens their mouth and says, you can do this. I say, yes, you can do this, but you can do this, this, and this as well.
Great. And for people who actually struggle with work-life balance, I mean, you are an example. You've taken on so many roles brilliantly, be it business or philanthropic work. What advice would you give to them? How to stay motivated, passionate, and super energized all the time?
Essentially, you do what you like. Finance has been my first love all the time. So finance, for me, it has to be impact. If there's no impact, there's no point in doing it. I don't believe in just earning money for the sake of it. Money for me has always been a means to something. And it doesn't matter what that means is. I decide what the means is. So they have to like what they do. It doesn't matter big or small. I wouldn't say any job is a small job. Any job is a job you shouldn't do. You should just do it if you like it and not worry about balance, because we are trained to be, let's say, parents, siblings, relatives, the community, the city, the world perhaps, and then you put us down there and say, you now, if you deal with all this and you have time, of course you should do what you like. But if you are down there, where are you going to get time after dealing with all those things? So I say, put yourself on par, put yourself on equal basis and see. At that point, maybe your children don't need you that much. But you're still there. You're saying, no, maybe then. You're like, step back a bit. Let them deal with things. Maybe your parents don't need you that much. Maybe your home doesn't need you that much. Maybe your neighbors don't need you that much. So what do I do with that time? I can do something very different. I meet people in villages. They've got like really young children. And they are managing the whole business with those young children. I'm like, how do they do that? And how do you say you can't do it in a city? You have to. And as you do it, there has to be, again, when I say education, the men have to be educated as well as the women to know that this is a joint effort.
Yeah.
There can't be men without women and women without men. And the things we can do are different. I mean, what we bring to the table is different. Even if we do the same task, we do it differently. So why can we not be approaching this in an equal footing? But the moment we start doing that, I see the young people are far more aware of it. And they've also tried to be helpful around they take care of, like my daughter is in university. She has friends who tell her, walk like this, I will come with you, just because it is easier, safer, whatever you call it. You can call it what you like. But they are watching out for women. They're not saying, oh, this woman is only good enough to go out on a date with. Let her handle her safety herself, you know. So that when it comes into society, we are looking at change. And that's what we want. We want change for the better. We don't want status quo, right? We want change for the better.
Well, great. It's been great listening to you. My final question to you before I let you go, where do you see yourself in next 5 years? Do you plan to expand your mentorship program?
It's not my mentorship. Essentially, I am already doing it in other countries. I do design courses in universities, and I also train. I'm taking this rural entrepreneurship mentorship program to Jordan as well. And yeah, so if universities abroad can bring it at university level, I don't know why anybody, I think, can do anything. And it's just, you have to decide what you want to do. And be careful what you decide. Because if you don't pay attention to what you want to do and say, okay, this is random, my neighbor is doing it, so why not me? It may not work. So you have to be careful what you dream about. You can dream about anything and achieve it. There's no problem with that. But first have the dream properly.
Well,
that would be my advice.
Thank you so much for that inspiring word, and it was lovely talking to you and listening to you.
Very kind, yes, thank you.
Well, Lata Gullapalli's journey is a testament to the impact of leadership beyond boardrooms. So stay tuned for more inspiring conversations with visionaries shaping the future. Until next time, stay inspired.